Republicans are pushing back against Trump's tax bill in the Senate. And so it's a little bit of a hurdle in order to get it over. And it's largely because they think that more cuts should come and that we shouldn't continue to raise the national deficit. Make sure y'all hit a like for the algorithm, subscribe to the channel, and turn on your notifications. Let's rock, y'all.
We turn now to a Senate update set to take up President Trump's massive spending bill this week, which is key to his agenda. But some Republican senators say they can't support the bill, which narrowly passed in the House. Our senior political correspondent, Rachel Scott, is at the White House for us. Good morning, Rachel.
Hey, Rebecca, good morning to you. And you're right, this bill barely passed the House, and it will certainly face challenges in the Senate, where a handful of Republicans are already warning about the level of spending. Others back home at town halls confronted about the cuts. This morning, with pressure mounting to pass President Trump's signature spending bill, a handful of Republican senators signaling they are not on board.
I just can't support something that actually increases the deficit, and that is what's going to happen right now as the bill's currently written.
I don't want to raise the debt ceiling $5 trillion.
Well, the bill promises to slash federal spending by $1.5 trillion. By some estimates, it would add $3.8 trillion to the national deficit over the next 10 years. With cuts to food assistance and Medicaid, more than 8 million Americans projected to lose coverage, according to the nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office. At town halls, Republicans confronted about those cuts. Iowa Senator Joni Ernst heckled and booed.
They are not eligible, so they will be coming off. So people are not, well, we all are going to die. So, for heaven's sakes.
After her response drew outrage, Ernst doubling down, posting this video standing near a cemetery.
I made an incorrect assumption that everyone in the auditorium understood that, yes, we are all going to perish from this earth.
The legislation pushed through the House by Republicans extends the 2017 Trump-era tax cuts, sets aside nearly $50 billion to resume construction on the border wall, and pushes work requirements for Medicaid.
They're cutting Medicaid, throwing 15 million people off their health care in order to fund a tax cut for the super wealthy and for corporations.
Now, of course, we all know that that's a lie, okay? So it's not a tax refund for the super wealthy and the corporations. Is to make sure, all right, number one, nobody is throwing anybody off. There's a lot of people that's not supposed to be on it. It's a lot of people that's not supposed to be on it. So to make the government, I hate the government so much. I really do. I genuinely hate the government so much. I hate the way that it's structured. I hate the way that it's ran. Even though we have the greatest country on earth, I believe that the government has become so bloated that it's almost impossible for us to actually get anything done in our lifetime, and it takes so long for us to actually be able to do something. I hate when Democrats say stuff like, oh, we have to go through with a scalpel instead of with a sledgehammer. No, the federal government exists to provide us with the structure that allows us to be a civilized society. That's it. That's it. All of this other stuff that we got going on, all of this other stuff that we're entitled to, Medicaid, Medicare, all of this, all of a sudden everybody deserves to have this level of health care coverage, even though they decided that they didn't want to work. Oh my God, we got to feed our seniors. So wait a minute. I'm going to be a little bit insensitive here, all right? I'm going to be a little bit insensitive. So you telling me, because I believe that the generation before me is the failed generation. The boomers, they should have did better. So you're telling me that just because this lady is older and she made bad decisions in her life, that I have to pay for it because I have to make sure that she has a comfortable life in her older age. Where they do that at? Yes, feed the seniors, says Linux Logic. Why? What? She can't go to the food pantry like everybody else? She can't go to the food pantry like everybody else. Bruh. I vigorously invest. As much as y'all see me having fun and enjoying life and all of this stuff, 90% of everything I take in, has always gone towards making sure that nobody has to suffer as a result of me getting older. I tell y'all all the time, hey, invest in your 401k, invest in your future. But you know what y'all gonna do? Y'all gonna neglect to do it, and then you gonna put yourself as you're gonna make the next generation pay to take care of you. And I'm not saying that we can't take care of them, but what I am saying is the sense of entitlement is disgusting to me. The sense of entitlement is disgusting. I think that we should be having lower taxes. I think that people should make sure that they fund their future. If we had more money in our pocket, then we can spend more money investing. You know what the problem is? Most people are not going to take care of themselves. So now we got to set it up to where you're going to get taken care of through taxpayer dollars. And so you got to have all of these programs to incentivize it. And then it's misspent by the federal government. And then we got to continue to fund Social Security that's not already funded, which makes it a Ponzi scheme. So now we got to rob the new generation so that we take care of you because the generation before you didn't invest in a future. Brian Shanklin says it's called being a good Christian. It's not. It's called being a sucker. It's called being a sucker. You don't get to tax me and then tell me, oh, I'm just making sure you're a good Christian. Man, suck my dick. I don't care what you're talking about. You don't get to take my money and then tell me that you're going to make me a good Christian. What about all of the people that's not even Christian in the United States of America? Everybody don't even believe how I believe, but they still get taxed to death. Why? So we can get, you know how many people I scroll through on my timeline or how many emails that I go through of women saying, you don't get to take I can't believe they reducing food stamps. My 7 kids that I had out of well, I gotta eat. What about my kids? What you talking about? I don't owe your snotty nosed kids nothing. I was very informed. I was very careful. I was okay with not even having kids. I almost didn't have a child. Why? Because I thought that it would be the responsible thing to do because I was selfish at the time. I wanted to have fun and I wanted to. So when I decided to have a child, I put what I wanted to do on the back burner for the next 16, 17 years until my daughter got old enough to be able to drive. And I focused 100% of my energy on her. And I only had one child because I wanted to make sure that she didn't have student loans and was out here looking dusty. That's called being responsible. You don't get to be irresponsible and then get the safety net and then you tell me that I got to be a good Christian. No, being a good Christian is getting the beam out of my own eye. Being a good Christian is getting the beam out of thine own eye. That is what being a good Christian is. It's not you forcing me, taking my money and then funding all of the government entities, making sure you got a bunch of administrative costs that you're stealing from. And then 10% of the money that we get taxed on actually go to whatever it is that we took it for. Roadrunner says, Anton, you getting comfortable with this language? I thought we was trying to get 30 million. Man, I don't care nothing about that money, man. I'm already rich. They offered me a bag already. It wasn't 30. Wasn't even close to 30, but it was a pretty significant bag. It was up there. And then they wanted equity in my show. And you know what I said? I ain't giving you nothing. You get zero equity, zero nothing. Anton, we see you doing 26, 27 million views a month combined with all of your platforms. Do you want to take over this? Hey, come and talk to us. No, you can't have no equity. Listen, if you taking the Mac, no. Because all you doing basically is giving me a loan on my show because I'm going to make way more long-term anyway. Care nothing about that. We're going to run it up on our own.
That is just fundamentally immoral. It's immoral and it's unethical.
The administration defending the package.
This bill will preserve and protect the programs, the social safety net, but it will make it much more common sense.
We want a percentage of your future profits for your show. No. Answer is no.
Leader John Thune is now racing to get this done by a July 4th deadline. He can only afford to lose 3 Republicans, guys.
And Rachel, late Friday, the president also announced new tariffs set to hit this week.
Yeah, the president announced he's now doubling tariffs on imported steel and aluminum, raising them from 25.
Oh, there go Malik, y'all. Hey, Malik is back. Malik is here. I told you. What did I tell y'all? What did I tell y'all? I said they can't stay away. They don't even feel like you love them unless you hold them accountable. It doesn't even matter if they don't chat. It don't matter if they never posted in there. They're still subscribed. They still love you. They're still watching. And eventually they're going to show themselves. What up, Malik? Malik, listen, I know I went off on you on Friday, Thursday and Friday last week. I don't apologize, but I hope you feel better. What up, Malik? Malik is back, y'all. Malik says I need to be humbled. Don't matter what I say. They're not going away. They're not going anywhere. I promise you guys. All of y'all keep worrying, oh my God, what about if you're offending people? That make them want to come more. I promise you. I promise you. They're not going anywhere. They're going to be right here having a good time because there's no better show on the face of this earth outside of the Millionaire Morning Show, and that's a fact.
I'm a no unless we separate out the debt ceiling. If you take the debt ceiling off the bill, I'm pretty much a yes on most of the rest of the bill.
But let's live in reality for a second. We're running $2 trillion deficits. If we follow the path of the House bill, we'll have close to, I think, $60 trillion worth of debt in 10 years. Okay? The American taxpayer has said they don't want to give us higher taxes. They don't like the taxes we have now. They're not giving us more money. Well,
you saying Malik came back for Pride Month? Malik, hey Malik, I got a part of the show just for you. I got a part prepared for the show. I was going to use it as an alternative just in case I didn't want to talk about this other subject. But now that you hear Malik, stick around. So let me see. I'm going to tell you what part of the show is for you. The sixth subject. So we're going to go over to Rand Paul. We're going to talk about the housing market and what's happening over in LA. And then I got the section for you. It's about the trans winning the Cali State Championship. And the funding is down 45% for Pride Month in places like Atlanta. So that part, I'm going to include you in it. I want you to participate in it. You know, the chat is my co-host for the show, Malik. Again, we're going to go Rand Paul because we got to talk about this big, beautiful bill. We're going to go to housing market, and then we're going to go over to trans winning the state championship and funding is down. That's your section. And then after that, we're going to go into a whole nother part of the show. All right, let's continue. Welcome back, Malik.
what we've got to do is do what every family does. We've got to go through every line of the budget.
And that is Senator Rand Paul on Capitol Hill and Senator Rick Scott with me on Mornings with Maria this week, voicing concern with President Trump's big, beautiful bill, already passed by the House, currently in the Senate, which the Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget says will add roughly $3 trillion to the national debt, including interest over the next decade.
Reading
Both
Super
senators
Chat,
saying
Shirley.
they
Make sure y'all
cannot
tap
vote
into the
for this
Patreon.
bill in its current form. And this weekend at the Reagan National Economic Forum, I spoke with J.P. Morgan Chase Chairman and CEO Jamie Dimon, who told me interest rates will spike and markets will get disrupted once investors realize the impact of rising debt levels. Watch. How much are you focused on debt and deficits right now?
It's a big deal. You know, it is a real problem, but one day we're going to have the bond market's going to have a tough time. I don't know if it's 6 months or 6 years.
What do you mean bond market will crack? What does that mean?
But the public has to understand is that something like $30 trillion of securities trades every day. These are investors around the world. Foreigners own $35 trillion of American securities. They have, another $30 trillion of private investments in the United States or something like that in the United States. People vote with their feet. And they're going to be looking at the country, the rule of law, the inflation rates, the central bank policies, what they want to hedge and what they don't want to hedge. And so those rates aren't set by central banks. They can affect them. If people decide that the U.S. dollar isn't the place to be, yeah, you could see, spreads gap out, credit spreads gap out, and that will become a problem. We had that during COVID. The Fed properly stepped in then. We had that in 2019. We had it in 2020. It will happen again.
And the rest of that interview tomorrow morning on Fox Business, as my next guest is voicing a similar sentiment, calling for a return to pre-pandemic spending levels and looking to separate the president's agenda into two bills with some of the president's campaign promises, such as no tax on tips, Social Security, and overtime, dealt with in a second bill later in the year. Joining me now in this Sunday Morning Futures exclusive is Wisconsin Senator Ron Johnson. Senator, thanks so much for being here. Have you been able to identify more areas to cut?
Good morning, Maria. Well, first of all, let me say I'm a big supporter of President Trump. I know Rand Paul is. I know Rick Scott is. We all want to see him succeed. But at the same time, I sprang out of the Tea Party movement, campaigning in 2010, doing parades, shouting, "This is a fight for freedom. We're mortgaging our children's future. It's wrong. It's immoral. It has to stop." We were $14 trillion in debt then. Now we're $37 trillion. And I think what is disappointing to me about the debate that went through the House, if you even call it that, we weren't looking at the facts and figures. The only figure we ever heard about was $1.5 trillion. Sounds like a lot, but when you put it in context of the $89 trillion we're going to spend over the next 20 years, the $22 trillion in additional deficit we're going to incur, that's $2.2 trillion per year deficit. It's completely unsustainable. I agree with Jamie Dimon here. This is something we have to take a look at. So, again, from my standpoint, I want to see the president succeed. I want to take a tax increase, an automatic tax increase off the table as soon as possible. All this could have been done. The border funding, take an automatic tax increase off the table. I think we have to deal with the debt ceiling. But again, I don't want to just do $5 trillion. I'm happy to give the president, increase the debt ceiling for 1 year, so we can come back and get serious about returning to a pre-pandemic level spending, because right now, based on the House bill, it doesn't look like anybody is.
I 100% agree. I 100% agree with everything that he just said. I love Trump. Everybody knows I love Trump. I agree with him probably on 98% of almost all issues. But we have to. And this isn't even for us, because I know that we sit and we complain, oh man, we got to make sure that we keep inflation down, housing market, prices, all of that stuff. Whatever it is going to happen. For most of us, we've already set our path for what our life is going to be. The problem is that we do not leave this earth in a better state had we not been here. So the one thing that we can't have, even though these little ugly ducklings, your kids, your kids, Malik's kids, Bonquisha and them, Bonquisha and them is not going to appreciate it. They don't appreciate the fact that they have the ability to vote. They don't even show up at the polls. In the urban community, the voter turnout rate is abysmal. Regularly, I get people during election season telling me how it's not even that important. I don't care. My vote don't even matter. People literally died, and they were dying saying on their last breath, at least Bonquisha will be able to vote and determine the fate of our future children. And when they passed away, they thought you was going to have their best interest at heart. And you know what you did? You took your freedom and you broke up your household. You did a lot of things. I don't want to go off the rails. My point is that the people today are unappreciative, and they still asking for more stuff when they had the freedom to do what they want to do more than ever before. And so we know this. We know that the next generation and the generations after we long gone, they're not going to appreciate the sacrifice that we made to try to make sure that their lives are better and to leave this earth in a better space, and all of the hate and getting called out of our names and all of that stuff. They not going to appreciate it, but it doesn't mean that we shouldn't do it anyway. Still got to do it. The same way Jesus gave his life. The same way that Jesus gave his life, that's the way that we got to leave this earth. We got to leave the United States better. So when you think about this budget deficit and you think about the exploding debt that we're paying over $1 to $2 trillion a year in interest on, we got to solve for that. Now, I am very similar. I believe that it's okay. It is okay to raise the deficit 1 year, just one. Anything more than that, that's problematic. Anything more than that is problematic. You can't raise the debt ceiling. You can't raise it every single year, because that is the thing that we were complaining about all of these years when it came to Democrats running it, but at the same time continuing to run us in a budget deficit while giving away all of our money. Why do we bring in a Department of Government Efficiency? Shouldn't they be done with their job next year? Well, I think that all of that stuff should be taken into consideration. Everything needs to be taken into consideration. I'm okay with it being raised for 1 year. year 3, 4, and 5, or I'm sorry, year 2, 3, and 4, and all of the years after that, we should be running at a surplus, and we got to balance the budget. We have to balance the budget. I believe in that one-time stimulus and making sure that we stimulate the economy. We give people what they need in order to be successful. We give these businesses the incentives to open up more plants inside of the United States. And then after that, we got to balance the budget. We can't just have a blank check forever. The people that come after us is going to be mad at us. They're going to say, oh, man, the millennials and the Gen Zs, they all did us dirty.